Hi Broadcast, today we're going to be adding 3 single-digit numbers. So we are going to be able to read the calculation carefully, we're going to be able to identify the 2 smallest numbers to add and find the answer, and we're going to be able to add the final digit to our answer to solve the calculation. So what is our math story today? We've got Kendi, Lily and Malik. How many fingers are being held up all together to make the target number? So here, where the target number is, these children have got all their fingers up to show the total of that target number. So let's go again. How many fingers are being held up together to make the target number? See whether you can have a go at that. So how many's Kendi got? How many's Lily got? How many has Malik got? And how many have they got all together? So thinking about how we're going to represent that math story. So on your piece of paper, how are you going to represent how many fingers Kendi has got? How are you going to represent how many fingers Lily has got? How are you going to represent how many fingers Malik has got up? And we can do that by drawing on our pieces of paper. You might draw dots, you might draw stars, you might draw dashes. Think about how you're going to represent those numbers. So, having a look here, how many fingers are being held up all together? We need to think about what that calculation, what that question is asking us. Are we adding? Are we subtracting? Are we multiplying? Are we dividing? Well, if we're saying how many have they got all together, we need to know how many Kendi's got, plus how many Lily has, plus how many Malik has, to find out how many fingers are held up in total. So we are adding today. So let's have a look at Kendi. Kendi has 5 plus another 2. And I know 5 add 2, I can do it with my fingers if I wanted to. If I had my 5 fingers and then my 2 fingers, I can do 5 and add on 6, 7. So I know he has 7 fingers. So I'm going to put my number 7 in here. And we're looking at addition. We're adding 3-digit numbers, so I'm going to put my add sign. Now I'm going to have a look at Lily. So Lily's got 1, 2, 3, 4. She's got 5 fingers up. So I've got Kendi's 7 and then Lily's 5. And then I'm still not done yet because I need to know the total altogether. I need to have a look at Malik. So he's got 1, 2, 3. So I've got 7, add 5, add 3 equals the question mark. Has Miss Bailey done it right? So I've said that we've got 2, add 5, add 3. So have a look. Is that correct? Hopefully you can see it's definitely not correct. So what Miss Bailey's done for her mistake is she's looked at Kendi and she said, oh, he's got 2 fingers. But actually, I've not had a look at how many fingers he's holding up on his other hand. So I've said it's 2, add 5, add 3. That's wrong. Silly Miss Bailey. We're going to represent this math story using 10 frames today. So these are the 10 frames, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in each of them. And I'm going to be drawing the circles in different colours, if it will allow me to show those different numbers. So for example, if we do Kendi's, we said that Kendi had 7. So I'm going to draw 7 circles. Very badly, as you can probably see, because I'm using my mouse. So I've got my 7 for Kendi. Then, on a different one, I'm going to draw how many Lily has. So she's got 5. And then again, in another colour, I'm going to be drawing how many Malik has. So Malik has 3. So that's how many they have, and I've put them all on their separate 10 frames. So I haven't added them all together yet, but I'm visually representing each of them. Has Miss Bailey done it right? So on this first one, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. On the second one, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And on the third one, I've done 3. Whose have I represented incorrectly? Is it Kendi's? Is it Lily's? Or is it Malik's? hopefully you can see it's Kendi's, because I've said he's only got 5 fingers up, but he hasn't. He's got 5, 6, 7. Now I'm thinking about how I could make it easier to count. I can see I've got Kendi's number of fingers here, I've got Lily's here, and I've got Malik's here. But I could make it a lot easier by doing something with those counters. I could move them. So I know that Kendi has 7, and I want to try and fill this 10 frame up. So I can see that I need 1, 2, 3 more counters to make this 10 frame full. So I could move 3 from Lily if I wanted to, but there might be something easier. Can you spot it? Malik's number of fingers, he has 3. So what I can do is I can cross off his 3 and I can place his 3 here to fill my 10 frame. So now there's nothing on this 10 frame, and I've added them all together. So this is Kendi's in the yellow and Malik's in the blue, and then I've got Lily's that are left over on the second 10 frame. So a full 10 frame is worth 10, so I've got 1 10 plus the 5 ones is 15. So today we need to use our number bonds to make a group of 10. Use our number bonds to make a group of 10. To make it easier. So we're adding the 2 single digit numbers that make that number 1 to 10 first, and then seeing how many counters we have left over that we need to add. So we can also represent this in another way. So we've represented it using our 10 frames. We can also represent it using our whole part models. So one of the parts is how many Kendi has, which is 7 fingers. Another of those parts is how many Lily has, which is 5 fingers. And another one of those parts is how many fingers Malik has, which is 3. So we're doing 7, add the 3, because that makes the number 1 to 10, add the 5. And the fingers they have all together, the target number they have, is 15. Let's have a look at our math story this time. So how many plants are there? And again, we're using our 10 frames to represent it this time. So we need to know how many plants there are all together. We're adding the 3 flower pots together. So I want you to see whether you can create your own 10s frames and see whether you can represent how many flowers there are all together. So pause the video so you've got a bit of time to do that before we move on. So hopefully you've had some time now to try and represent how many plants we have all together. So we'll just go through that now. So let's have a look at the first plant pot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so we've got 7 in the first plant pot. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the next plant pot. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 in the next plant pot. So again, we can represent that doing the 7, the 6 and the 4 independently, and then we can try and find those number 1 to 10. So hopefully you found the number 1 to 10 here, and the number 1 to 10 is 6 add 4 is 10. So if I draw my 6, which is in my second plant pot, I can see I've got 4 spaces left to make that number bond to 10. So now I'm going to get my 4. And then I've added the 4 to the 6. I've already represented the 6. And now I'm going to add that 7 on. So let's see if I can get a different colour. So on this one, I'm now going to have my 7. And I can see I've got one of those 10s frames filled already. So that represents 1 10. So I can write that here. So it's got 1 10. And then how many ones are left over? Well, there's 7. So I know that 7 add 6 add 4 is 17. I've mixed it up here. So I've actually put my answer at the front. I've put something equals 7 add 6 add 4. Is that correct? Have a little think. Is that correct? Can I do that? Will it change the answer? Is it mixing up that calculation? Hopefully you've had a think. And thankfully, it is correct. Miss Bailey's not made one of her silly mistakes today. So all I've done here is I've moved the answer to the front. So if I can find my cursor, here we go. I've moved my answer to here. But this symbol here, the equal sign, means the same as. So wherever that goes, as long as both sides are the same, they're the same answer, they're equal, then it doesn't matter where that equal sign goes, as long as it is balanced. So 7 add 6 add 4, we know is equal to the answer. We know that because we know 7 add 6 add 4, we know is 17. So if 17 was here, we know that 17 is the same as 7 add 6 add 4 because we just worked that out. Again, having a look now at how you're representing that using those 10 frames, doing it independently for each of the flower pots first, then finding that number bond to 10 and then figuring out what's left. Is this correct? I've said 7 add 5 add 4. Is that correct? So have a little look. 7 add 5 add 4. Is that correct? Well, what I've done here is I've miscounted, something that lots of you do. So I can check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There is 7 in this plant pot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I've said there's only 5. So it's really important to make sure you are counting accurately. Count again if you miscount, because otherwise you will get the wrong answer. Again, coming back to how Miss Bailey could make it easier, well, I can find the number bond to 10. So I can see here, there's 3 missing here. Have I got 3 over here? Well, I have got 3, but I then have 1 left over that I'd have to move. Over here, how many have I got missing? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've got exactly 4 here. So I can then move them over, if I can find my cursor, sorry guys. So I can move them over from here. So I can cross off 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm moving them. So I'm not getting rid of them, I'm moving them over to make it easier. I know that when one of those 10 frames is full, it's worth 10. So I've got 1 10, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 ones. 17. So see whether you can have a go now using my worksheet, adding 3 single digit numbers, finding that number bond to 10 first to make it easier for you.